Hi, thanks so much for joining me, everyone, as we are moving along in our Coronatined Conversations with Copywriter series. Today, I am privileged to be able to speak to the living legend, Pauline Longdon. Thanks so much for coming on with me.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here.
Oh, yeah. And I've got to say, it's really great speaking with someone that's in a similar time zone.
Mm-hmm. It's different, isn't it? It's good.
It's good. As to that, I've heard about your early morning calls, and I too am doing a 2 a.m. call on Tuesday mornings.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so anyways, it's cool to connect with you here. I appreciate you taking some time out of your quarantine to speak with me and share that you are indeed alive and flourishing in
Yeah.
crazy times.
Yeah.
Not too much really to too much of agenda, I guess, to cover today. Just wanted to give anyone watching this the opportunity to maybe connect with you a bit more on a personal level, and then
Mm-hmm.
maybe find out a bit more about the mindset and the perspective behind the marketer.
Mm-hmm.
They often we get caught up on the kind of systems and methods and miss that there's a lot of power behind the person that created them and is executing them. So hoping to
Mm-hmm.
dig in a little bit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, kind of to get started, I just wanted to, well, let's chat about your recent trip to America. You just did like a month over there. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's just short of a month. And I went to Stephen Georgi, or Georgi. I think that's how you say his name. I just call him Stefan, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And then Dustin Goff's Copy Accelerator. That was in Vegas. Hadn't been to Vegas before, so that was pretty awesome. And then on the way, and so I went there as a participant, but then on the way
That's
home
awesome.
from there, went to San Diego and was a panelist at the the Copywriter Club um, in real life event, which was really good, speaking about imposter syndrome and mental health. So that was pretty good.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. You shouldn't have said that
Mm.
because we're going to get so derailed now. There's just so much in those sentences that we could dive into. But I'm going to
Yeah.
stay the course mostly because apart from being insanely jealous of all of your travels, I loved your documentary on the toilet stall gaps.
Well, thank you for liking it, because I actually upset a lot of people because I think that's what happens when you butt up against, and no emphasis on the word but when you butt up against people's cherished beliefs about, or the Americans didn't even realize that there was a door gap there until I actually showed them. And it's something that I've been aware of for years,
Yeah,
but I thought, you know what, this time I'm just going to make some fun of it. And I did. And for the most part, people found it really funny.
yeah.
But for other people, they just got a little bit too serious. But isn't that always a way? You're not going to make everyone
Please,
happy.
everyone. Oh my goodness. Those
Mm,
people shouldn't be in your network then. I also maybe
yeah.
might offend some people with that statement. I am prepared to wear the brunt of my
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it always cracked me up. And for the longest time, I think I justified it by the fact that it's like, well, how else are you going to know if someone's in the stall? Because apart from the gap, which obviously, as you learn,
Yeah.
there's different methods for how to tell, like where you
Yes.
kind of like walk by and do like the side eyes, kind of like you're checking
Mm-hmm.
someone out, but instead you're
Yeah.
checking to see if someone's in the toilet.
Yeah.
And then obviously there's like the dip method. I don't know if you ever got any heads, kind of just checking to see if there's anyone
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
stall.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, for me as an Australian, I mean, that's what you've got the vacant and engaged sign on the
I
door for.
know, I know. Yes, that was like an invention
Yeah,
in my head like years ago. I'm like, we need a way to, why don't we put this on the toilet stalls so then people know? Because
yeah,
then when people knock even, and then you feel obliged to answer, and I never know what I'm supposed to answer. I'm like, I'm in here, uh
yeah,
occupied, busy.
yeah, yeah. Well, I made a joke of it, and I actually expanded on I might have embellished things a little bit when I said I was in Caesar's Palace, and I'm sitting there, and a woman, no joke, she's like rattling on the door, and she's looking in there, and I'm just going, righto, okay,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
calm down, calm the farm, you know, there's someone in here. But then I said, you know, and then she just looked at me and she said, you've got something between your teeth. And that was like, I embellished that because she didn't, but my point was she had such a good old look that she could have told me, you know, that I had something between my teeth.
Yeah.
And it was kind of that unsettling thing. It's, I can laugh at it, but I know
Yeah.
that there's a lot of people who are a bit more sensitive to it, or, you know, I know that there's some cultures where that would just freak them out. They would never
Yes.
go to the bathroom ever again after that. So,
Not
you
in
know, I'm doing
public.
it for humanity.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you for calling
Yeah.
out the awkward bathroom humans of the world.
Yep, that's my pleasure. But I guess just as a copywriter and marketer as well, though, it's just seeing the little things that other people miss. But also that's
Mhm.
where because I did some stand-up comedy last year, and what
Okay.
comedians do, and comedians and copywriters are very similar anyway,
Mhm.
because comedians and copywriters see the things that a lot of people miss. And so comedians will then make a joke about it, which is
Yeah.
what I did with the toilet stalls.
Mhm.
But then it's a copywriter would, you know, see, okay, so why is a freaking gap there in the first place? And maybe there is a better way to have a toilet door, you know, on a stall and
Yeah.
all that sort of stuff. So it's just, for me, it was an exercise in expanding my awareness to things that
Mm.
other people miss. Because I had one of my friends, Lo, she's a top copywriter as well, and she goes to me, what is your preoccupation with this freaking door gap thing? Like, what is wrong with you? I
Yeah.
said, well, I might have been dropped on my head as a child, but I'm sure it goes beyond that. And she goes, there's no door gap. And I went, okay then. Anyway, as women do, went to the bathroom, two of us together, and she goes in there, she goes, oh, holy shit, I will never be able to see a toilet door the same
Yeah.
way. She goes, that's a huge gap. And I went,
I
and
know.
you're only just noticing now, like she's in her
Yes.
50s. It's like, you
She's
didn't
been
notice
going
that
to the
before.
toilet for 45 years, never
Yeah,
realized it. Yeah. I
exactly.
Yeah. And so I that we're just gonna get right into it because I guess that's who
Yeah.
we are as people. But like, so I find that kind of attention to detail is something that is unique, I guess, a lot around a lot of
Mm-hmm.
good, great, excellent copywriters is they're analyzing and asking and noticing all the time.
Mm, yeah, yeah,
And
I'd
so,
agree. And if you can actually, I mean, that was just an inane, stupid thing that I was concentrating on,
mhm,
but it did actually train my eye to see other things that people miss.
mhm.
Um, and as copywriters, I think we need to be able to see the world. And here's the other thing, we need to be able to see the world as it is instead of what we'd like it to be.
Yeah,
So
okay,
okay,
wow.
so most people see the doors on the stall. That's enough. There's a door on the stall.
Mhm,
Pauline's looking at it, going, why is there a gap? Like,
mhm.
what's that about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So because if copywriters are seeing it the way they want it to be, okay, so then the door's enough. It gives them the
Mhm,
privacy. Pauline looks at it, goes, okay, so you know, why is there a gap there? What
mhm,
purpose is it? Yeah, and starts to wonder and go, you know, the
hmm.
fact is that there is actually a gap in the door. That's the way the world is, not the way I want it to be. Definitely not the way I'd like it to be. So yeah, it's just catching what other people miss.
Yeah, wow. And I feel, how do you feel like, what do you feel like the importance of that, or being able to tie in things like that into your copy? Do you feel like people subliminally like resonate, or like is that something that allows you to connect or even disrupt their thinking in the work that when you're writing?
Well, that's kind of like what John Benson does with his pattern interrupt, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's like, you know, here's a toilet door and here's a door gap that you've never noticed ever before.
Yeah.
Um, you can use that in your copy and you can use it very effectively. But one of the things is you don't want to butt up against what people already think of the world
Okay.
in a way that's
Mm.
going to make them, you know, be even more guarded.
Okay.
So you want to introduce it in a way that, you know, makes sense to them. And then you can, and you don't want to offend them. So it's like, just to expand on the door gap thing,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say like, Americans, you filthy swines, why do you have a door gap there and offend people and be insulting to them?
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
I slowly started to increase people's awareness of the door
Mm-hmm.
gap. And in fact, what happened towards the end of my trip, and even now that I'm home, people are actually still posting on
Oh,
my wall
that's
door
great. Yeah.
gaps.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's so fantastic because now people are aware. And I don't know where this goes. Like, do we have a
Mm-hmm.
coffee table book, or do we have the no gap movement? All that sort of stuff. But it was just a funny little social exercise, and
Yeah.
not a harmful one in any way,
Mm-hmm.
just to show people that you can expand awareness without insulting people or telling them that they're wrong.
Yeah, yeah. And I
Yeah.
feel like there's the basis kind of to, and yeah, immediately I'm thinking of relating maybe a concern that someone has and talking about how it might have been in plain sight, but it's like a door gap. You don't even realize it's there. You look at it every day, but you don't even realize that there's
Mm,
actually like a crack
yeah.
that a whole eyeball can fit
Yeah.
through.
Is it? Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, think about that. If you're missing things like that, are you actually missing other things in life as well? So, it's just tuning yourself into seeing, as I said, just expand is just to see the world as it is, not the way you think it is or not the way you want it to be.
Wow. So then that's obviously a crazy valuable perspective. How do you cultivate that? How do you, or, like, say for people that are looking to try and improve how they relate to other people, like
Hmm.
how would you encourage them to like start seeing from that? Because we're trying to move people from a point of like, well, unaware basically to now
Yeah.
seeing, like, viewing the world differently, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something that I've read a couple of books on persuasion, but there's some really good ones. But I wanted just to give credit where credit's due. That was Chris Haddad who taught me that quite a few years ago, about seeing the world as it is, not the way you want it to be.
Oh, that's
Um,
awesome. Hmm.
but I think as a personal thing, like, have that as moral code, and then you start to see people as they are, not the way you think they are. Which, if you think they're a particular way, often that's projection, or often that's seeing them through your filter.
Hmm.
And what you see, okay, so I was saying to a friend in America that I have friends in America that are Republicans, Democrats, and Libertarians,
Hmm.
and I won't unfriend people because of their political views. They may unfriend me because they don't like my political views or their
Hmm.
projection of what they think my political views are, but I won't unfriend them. And the reason for that is I like to see what's going on. I like to have a cross section. What I notice is when people only have friends that think the same way as they do,
Hmm.
and whether they're copywriting friends or just friends in general, they
Yeah.
then start to really taint their view of the world. So what
Hmm.
I do is I have such a diverse and eclectic group of friends
Okay.
in my social sphere, so that well, something that was said of me years ago, and I found it an interesting observation, is that I seem to have my fingers on the pulse of humanity.
Okay.
And
Wow.
that actually really interested me because I've always been very interested in people, and being a
Hmm.
nurse, like, you meet everyone at their best days, at their worst days, like, as a nurse. I was a trauma nurse, so often I was the first person that someone would see as they're being wheeled into the ER with body parts hanging off and
Hmm.
almost near death. And I'd look at them and I'd think they did not expect to have the kind of day that they're having today.
Yeah.
Um, so how can I make their day better? Um,
Mm.
so I think, to have the ability to get back to your question, which is a really good one, I think to have the ability to see the world outside of yourself and realize and be aware of your own biases that may
Hmm.
get in the way of you being able to um, be a participant and an observer. Um, an analogy that I use a lot is, like in The Matrix,
Yeah. Okay.
Neo was offered a red and a blue tablet.
Hmm.
Well, if I was Neo, I would have taken both tablets and made a purple one. I
Yeah.
like purple, but that's
Uh-huh.
just it. But the reason is, I think there's a good copywriter, and I think it was Schwartz and a couple of the other geniuses that have come before us,
Mm-hmm.
they said that you need to be able to relate to the common man, because, and I think it was Hopkins as well said that, you need to be able to relate to the common man, because if you actually ever lose that, then you're not going to be able to sell to
Mm-hmm.
anyone.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
having that ability to, you know, going back to the purple pill, to be able to be a participant in this
Mm-hmm.
circle of life and know what people are going through, but then be able to step out and not get stuck in the head trash enough that you're starting to think like them, is a huge ability. And I mean, even just traveling, like coming home from America, there was so much panic about this pandemic. And
Mm-hmm.
there was a guy, I made a joke about it on Facebook, and I have no regrets, you know, and I'm not even going to say sorry, not sorry, because I'm not sorry. But
Yeah.
anyway, so we're all standing in line, ready to get on the plane. And he goes up to the service desk and says, I do not want to stand in line with all those plebs. Like, I don't want to get sick. And I thought, well, A, you don't have a mask on. But then I said on my Facebook post, well, clearly you don't need to wear a mask when your head's so far up your own butt.
Yeah.
But, okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I was offended by him, like, because I was being a participant in the game of life.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I actually stepped out of the matrix and looked, and I went, you know what? Because like the person in the matrix would go, he's a jackass, you know, he's going to sit in a plane, we're going to be sharing air for the next 16 hours, you
Mm-hmm.
know, get over yourself. The version of me that steps out of the matrix goes, okay, what's his day like? What's the conversation happening in his head? Who's been talking
Mm-hmm.
to him? Why is he actually risking his health to get on that plane to fly home, or fly home to Australia, fly to Australia? What's his end goal? And
Mm-hmm.
really no one wants to get sick. So I think having that ability as a copywriter to step out of the matrix, but also to be able to exist in it,
Mm.
is massive.
Wow. So then, excuse me, I got some corona in my throat. But yeah, so it's crazy then what you're saying, because we basically simultaneously have to be able to um, participate and analyze, and
Yes.
hold those kind of like, we hold those in an awkward tension,
Mm-hmm.
because the participation is what actually gives us the ability to relate and communicate, but then
Yeah.
we won't
Mm.
understand it if we don't ever take a step back and
Yes.
like actually analyze what's happening.
Yeah. Like there's people in life that I don't like. I don't like pedophiles. I don't like
Mm-hmm.
certain people. But something that I learned was if you're always saying what's wrong with them, or they're disgusting, they're vile, blah blah blah, then
Yeah.
you'll not never understand why they are like they are.
Mm-hmm.
And even when you do finally understand why they are like they are, you still don't have to like it.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
make an effort to understand people. Like I learned this. There's a book that I read a long time ago by
Mm-hmm.
Blair Warren, The Forbidden Keys. Colin Theriot years ago mentioned it and said, anyone who wants to learn about persuasion, read that book. So I read
Wow.
it,
Okay.
and he was talking about like psychopaths, sociopaths, and people in death cults. It's like, well, why did all these people,
Mm-hmm.
you know, kill themselves? Or even like to the modern day, it's like you watch Current Affair, or you know, those shows, and they say, oh, you know, this 86-year-old woman just lost the life savings to this gigolo that promised her that, you know, blah blah blah. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like most people go, well, she's an idiot, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah,
she
yeah.
deserves that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, she doesn't. And she was a sane, logical woman. He was a con man. So instead of just going, she's an idiot, she deserves it, go, okay, so what was the motivation? What persuaded her? And then even study the con man to see how
Yeah.
he got that money out of a woman who's been saving up her life savings,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. How did that happen? So don't just like always jump to the first instinct of like,
Mm.
they're an idiot, because that's lazy.
Yeah.
Go beyond the laziness and really start to dig deep into what motivates people, and you'll understand people more, and then you'll be better marketers and copywriters as well.
Yeah. I
Mm.
think when you're saying that too, I think about how within our initial gut response is the opportunity to find out our own bias and realize
Yes.
how we're misreading the situation. And so,
Mm-hmm.
you know, if we're thinking about how to train ourselves to try and be like observers and collectors and like figure out what's going
Mm,
on. If you hang out with people that are different from you and something triggers and like a gut, visceral, some sort of response,
yeah.
typically we just want to run with that. But that's
Mhm.
actually an incredible opportunity for us to introspect and find out like why am I having this? And typically you can see that it's rooted in some sort
Mm,
of perspective or belief. Now, it might be, that's all right. We've all got our own beliefs and perspectives. That's fine. Like, I'm not
yeah.
saying that's
Yeah.
wrong, but just the
Mhm.
opportunity for us to become conscientious and
Mhm.
aware. And for me,
Yeah.
like, I'm a learner by association. So then once I kind of like, if I can identify an initial pattern, then I can start trying to like put it
Yeah.
over other things in life. So if I can figure out in a very visceral moment how my default response is tied to some sort of underlying belief, then
Mm,
in a conversation with my wife, when I'm just like, I can like, oh wow, actually I'm doing the same thing. Right now
yeah.
it's less extreme, but it's still
Mhm.
like I'm still judging, I'm still operating
Mm,
default,
yeah.
off of
Yeah.
my core person.
Mm,
So, well,
yeah.
that's really awesome. And something that we were chatting about kind of earlier that I'd love to get into is you've been back and forth to America quite a bit. I
Mhm.
been able to do quite a bit of traveling myself, and we have realized that we tend to adapt quite a bit. Maybe we're
Yeah.
people pleasers. Maybe that's a special gift. I don't know, but let's explore a little bit kind of how the Pauline that is American Pauline. Let's go with that. Pauline.
Yeah, so it's really funny because we were talking about accents because
Yeah.
you and I both wander through accents and language patterns because when I'm talking to Americans I'll say process instead of process, acclimate instead of acclimatize, all those sort of things.
Yeah,
Things
yeah.
that people don't really aluminum instead of aluminium. It's just having the awareness of where you're talking and
Hmm.
people think it's really funny that I do that, but this comes back down to being an effective communicator and whether that you're doing that in written form or as a speaker, like not as a speaker on stage, but just in speaking to people. Um, don't you want people to be able to easily understand you?
Hmm.
So I actually soften my accent, and it's funny because at the moment I've been biting inside of my mouth as I'm speaking more, like pronouncing my R's and things like that.
Yeah.
R's
R's
in
and
America.
pronouncing. You're like pronouncing.
Are
Oh,
pronouncing and
now,
yeah,
ow.
but
That's not
yeah,
really an Aussie sound. Yeah.
not really. And so like I'm all over the place at the moment as I'm starting to acclimatize or acclimate back. And it's funny because of this isolation, I'm in quarantine at the moment. I'm not out talking to the people I would normally
Yeah.
talk to.
Okay. Hmm.
So the what I call the Hollywood Australian accent is lasting a bit longer because
Ooh.
every day I talk to a lot of people, mostly in America, coaching and mentoring,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so to be able to get them to understand me, I change my accent or just the words that
Hmm.
I use and the way I say them.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that though is, and it comes down to a copy principle as well, is you don't want people to be in their head trying to work out what you're saying,
Hmm.
because when they're in their head, they're missing all the conversation that
Yeah.
you're doing. And so I learned that really early as a copywriter when I was writing copy. Someone said, you want to be able to put what you mean on the page in a way that they can instantly get it.
Hmm.
Otherwise, they will be confused. And if you confuse them, you lose them.
Yeah.
And also, if they're trying to work out what that looks like, how it affects them, what the hell did you mean?
Hmm.
It's like they're going to go off the page and they might as well like just close down what they're reading of you because they will not go back to it. You've lost them as a reader. And that's why um, Joe Sugarman talks about the grease slide of your
Hmm.
sales letter and your
Yeah.
advertising. You just want people to start at the top and get all the way down as a grease slide. You don't want them to think off the page. You don't want them to think of
Yeah. Yeah.
anything
Yeah.
other than the words that you're using, and you're creating that experience for them.
Hmm.
So that's, you know, putting that copywriting perspective into, or principle into my everyday life as a communicator. You know, I remember when I went to America years ago, as a copywriter. And by the way, I used to go to America quite a lot because I was a alternative healer and all this woo-woo stuff. And then some stuff happened, and then I turned to copywriting. And but then after, when I started to go to America as a copywriter, people would not be able to understand me, and I'd never thought of that when I was, you know, in the woo-woo world.
Wow,
Really didn't worry me. But as a copywriter, I became more aware of it and more sensitive to the fact that I wanted people to really understand me. So I started to then adapt, imitate how people were saying stuff. And then I started to realize that there'd be less and less of the what or what now, you know, those kind of sayings like around me. And then it's like people are nodding and following it. The only time I really had a difficulty was when I was speaking to a guy, I think he was from the South, and he goes, "What's your name?" And I go, "Yeah, I know, but you're right." He goes, he goes, "What's your name?" And I went, "It's Pauline." He goes, "What?" I said, "Pauline." He goes, "What? I don't even know how to start in saying that," kind of thing. And I went, "All right." And then I went, "Oh, it just triggered me." And I went, as in triggered me, not in a bad way. Like, it triggered, it triggered something in my mind. I went, right, he can't understand me. So I went, "It's Pauline." And he goes, "Oh, Pauline, why didn't you say that?" And I went, "Because it's not my fucking name." Like that. And he's just like, oh. Anyway, it's pretty funny. But what it showed me is that some people are adaptable and adaptive and will help. And he was a copywriter, by the way. So, and by the way, his copy is decent, but it's not fantastic. And the reason is because he has a set way of how he speaks. He wants everyone else to speak the same way. And if they don't, too bad. I'm not in the too bad camp. I want everyone to understand me as best as they can, whether it's a written page, whether it's me standing on stage speaking to people, or it's just general conversation. I don't want to interrupt people's day and with stuff that they're not going to understand. And you generally would just prefer to be able to say it once without having to repeat myself.
No, 100%. So it's you want people to not listen to you because they disagree or choose not to, not because they can't understand you. And
correct.
That's I was on a podcast this past weekend, and good old 5 a.m. podcast, you know, like Australia, American life. We were talking about kind of the importance of communication, and I was like calling that like micro insults, kind of, whenever you use words that that people don't resonate or understand. Like it's like a little jab, like we're poking them, and maybe not consciously, they're not like actually like, oh man, but you're causing dissonance, which is gonna, and there's no hook that's beautiful enough that can save you from like theoretically insulting your person throughout the rest of your copy.
Exactly. And I mean, you say it creates dissonance, it also creates a disconnect.
Okay.
And isn't the whole thing of our copy to connect with people at an emotional level? If you're talking in lingo, then you're actually treating them like an outsider. You're not inviting them into the conversation because you're using a code that they don't understand. So I guess that's one of the things why I make the extra effort. But, I mean, by the way, I make fun of it. Like I spoke at AWAI's boot camp last year. It was freaking awesome. I got to do a bit of a member spotlight. And so they gave me the microphone, and I went, "Oh, just before I start, I just want to make sure that this is calibrated to the way I need to speak, and so that you can understand me." You go, process. Acclimate, acclimatate. Anyway, I did that, and everyone's laughing.
That's awesome.
I was kind of serious in the way, making sure that people actually understood it. And if I use the wrong word, I'll correct myself. And people go, "You don't have to correct yourself. We want to hear your accent." I go, "I know you want to hear my accent, but I also want you to understand me."
Well, and the thing is too, like you pre-framed the shit out of that though too. So then you just basically, you gave yourself a pass. for them.
Yeah.
Like they've now got a mental note, like you've made them all aware that you're trying to be conscientious, and there is the
Mhm.
small chance that you might say something like
Yeah.
aluminium, and they're gonna be like, what is that, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and they're
Yeah.
but they're not gonna, they probably, because they were pre-framed, they're gonna
Mm,
not they probably won't stay there in the same way. They'll be like, oh wow,
exactly.
keep going.
At least she tried to involve me in the
Yeah,
conversation.
yeah, yeah.
She just didn't go, "Oh, you flaming glads, you know, like Arvo, Servo, you know, Drongo." You
Yeah,
know, you're not just doing a great big Aussie bomb
yeah, yeah,
where
yeah,
they're just gonna sit there and go, "What the heck was that even English?"
yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So then that is, this is awesome and definitely really, really valuable stuff. And the more that I have the opportunity to interact with people like yourself, like these are the messages that I hear. I
Mm.
don't hear them necessarily that unfortunately people don't talk about it as enough, I think, in my mind. But um, was there like a particular moment or experience that kind of made you aware of like, I need to be a purple pill person?
Um, yeah, there's kind of more in my woo-woo stuff
Okay.
was because what I noticed in the spiritual healing stuff, I did a
Hmm.
course with this woman that's now has rescinded all the stuff and said, she said that's it. I was crazy back then and I don't agree with it. So anyway,
Oh
but
wow. There goes your
she
retirement. Sorry about that. Guess you're back on.
yeah, I know it's interesting, but it's yeah. Anyway, so what she said one day made me really aware of stuff. She goes, to be able to be spiritual and to be psychic and to be have your psychic abilities and that, like your intuition, um, you can't eat meat, you can't drink coffee, you can't can't have chocolate, you can't eat bananas, you can't do this.
Hmm.
You might as well just shove it in your third eye. So
Yeah.
I thought, well, you know what? Stuff that. I don't want to be psychic so much. I love bananas. I love chocolate. Love coffee. Meat. I eat meat when I can, but I don't have to rely on it.
Yes.
It's one of those things. Um, but then I thought, wow. But then, so after that, because she was a vegetarian at that time, then she became a vegan. Then she became a raw foodist. Then raw
Oh
foodist
wow.
vegan, and it was all this just like ascension for her. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. But then, as she was doing that, I started to notice that she was getting more and more disconnected from the people who were following her. But also,
Wow.
the
Okay.
people who were following her were trying to keep up with her.
Hmm.
Most of us just, it's like we dropped out at chocolate. Other people, they went with the raw vegan, all that kind of stuff, which is
Yeah.
pretty
It's
hardcore.
well, it's like rabbits, basically.
it's
You just
it's
eat
next level stuff,
it. Yeah.
and what's after that is breatharian. So
Yeah.
we know it. It's like, oh, I feel so
So
full.
full.
Oh, tasty breath.
I know.
Anyway, so yeah, I just started to look at her, and then I when I became a teacher of not that modality, by the way, another one that really resonated with me and helped me
Okay.
get out of depression.
Okay.
um she I looked at her and I went, well, would you rather be the guru on top of the mountain that can only stay there and have people visit them on their terms and have that sensitivity that you can't exist in the real world, kind
Hmm.
of like Neo? It's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
too
Yeah.
too much
Yeah.
for me to
Hmm.
handle. Or do you want to be the person who can go on the streets of Calcutta, eat the food
Hmm.
down there, whatever you're given, and be grateful for it,
Yeah.
help people and not be too afraid of catching cooties from people, and
Hmm.
um, have your fingers on the pulse of humanity and know what's really happening in the world. So that's when I started to become aware of, like, like the little taco girl meme. It's like, why not both? Why can't we have both?
Yeah.
Like,
Wow.
why
Okay.
can't we have both?
Hmm.
Like, do we have to live in such a dualistic society where you have
Yeah.
to have one or the other? I don't
Hmm.
think, whether you believe in God or creation or whatever, or evolution, I don't think we're here to just have such restrictive
Yeah.
choices. I
No, no,
don't think
that
that,
makes sense. Yeah.
and I choose not to. I actually
Hmm.
choose not to. So, I'll take both of those pills, and I will swallow them gladly, and I use them the way I want to use them instead of, okay,
Hmm.
so, oh my God, I can only do one or the other. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I'll create your own reality. and then tune into people a lot more at a deeper level. And I think that's what helps me to have that genuine empathy and compassion for my fellow man. Like, as a copywriter, I won't write for people who've got shit products or that are manipulating people or whatever, because the abilities that we've got, the skills that we entrusted with, are powerful. Like, I met on my journey to America earlier this year, because I've already been to America twice this year. It's ridiculous. Craig Clemens was on stage, and he's
Wow, that's awesome.
the dude who started Golden Hippo. He's a freaking legend. I love that guy so much. And because his heart is in the right place, he's making $1 squillion, but he's got good products, he's got a good attitude. And what he said was, so he started with his probiotic offer, and he introduced the world to candida and all that sort of stuff, and then probiotics as a solution. But he said that now I can't remember how many zeros were at the end of it. I think I said 23 million. It's actually too low a number. But he said his probiotics video sales letter has been viewed multiple tens of millions of times.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah.
His marketing and his copy has not just moved people, but it's created a movement.
Yeah.
In fact, Pepsi changed their recipe and took stuff out of their Pepsi drink because of his video sales letter.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's massive.
Yeah, that's
Paris
incredible.
shares a story about how he was sitting next to a guy at an IV clinic, and he said to the guy, how did you find out about this treatment? It's pretty obscure. And the guy goes, oh, years ago, I read a letter from a doctor, and I was only given a few months to live, and I thought, well, why not give this a go? And Paris goes, how long ago was that? And he said 7 years, and I'm still alive because of that letter. And Paris just got goosebumps, and it gives me goosebumps because
I'm like,
Paris
so I'm like,
Paris was the guy who wrote that letter.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So the reason I share that is because, we have so much power, and we have a lot of responsibility with the skills that we have, rather than just using it to scam people and hoodwink people out of their hard-earned money. I mean, anyone can do that, but to move people, create movements, to save lives, like Paris did with that guy. I mean, that's one of my favorite stories of Paris ever. That's superhero.
Yeah, that's incredible. I think what a cool thing that I'm noticing throughout everything that you're sharing is kind of like just really the humility that's ultimately needed, because as copywriters, marketers, we're always striving to get better, to be more educated, but that's really the way society works. Is we're told like, oh, now we should be the guru that's on the mountain that people should come to, and that our words, they're like eating them or whatever. But really, that is supposed to be able to empower us to connect and get down in the nitty gritty. And when you're talking, like, I think about playing, like when you're at the park and you see people, all the parents are like always around, and the happiest kid is always the one that has like an adult that's right there, like that's in whatever they're doing together. Sure, all the kids are having fun, but there's nothing like the smile on like one of those kids' faces when an adult like comes in and starts playing with them. And
good point.
that's like mind-blowing for that child in that moment. And so I think frequently we're tempted to be like, I'm an adult now, like I don't have to play, but like we're trying to change this person's life. Not like feel better, not esteem ourselves. I mean, let's just let all the other marketers and copywriters stroke our egos. That's fine. We can do back. We can do behind closed doors if we want to, but when we're producing, ultimately, it's for the goal of the recipient.
Yeah. Well, I mean, something that I did learn, and I guess I take a lot of my stuff from the military, from being a woo-woo healer and all that sort of stuff.
Okay.
Something I was told in when I was doing the spirit, really heavily involved in the spiritual stuff, was it was the principle of bless, don't impress. And it kind
Mm,
of says what you're saying there. It's like, just write the words to bless people
mm,
and give them the salvation that they're looking for, rather than trying to impress other copywriters with your copywriting prowess. Because, okay, that's kind of nice to get the industry accolades,
yeah.
but who gives a shit?
Hmm.
Like, whether I impress a whole heap of copywriters or I actually change someone's lives, or in the case of Paris, the dude sitting there next to him and
Mm,
saved his life. I mean, that to me, and I mean, we've all got our own motivations, by the way. So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not saying it's right or wrong or whatever. This is
yeah.
what
Mhm.
works for me. And I guess I'm sharing this because I want people to know that they don't have to always be out there impressing the A-listers or impressing the
Mhm.
B-listers, or trying to, pretend that they're an A-lister when they're actually a C-lister. And who gives a shit? Just like write some friggin' awesome copy,
Mhm.
because you want to, impact people's lives. You want to make a difference. And
Yeah.
and you know what? When you do that, the accolades come. Because look at Craig Clements, look at Paris.
Mm,
They're legends in the
mhm.
industry. Look at the David Deutsches and
Yeah.
John Carlton. I mean, it happened by osmosis. They didn't go out and say, I'm the best copywriter on the planet, or, bow before me.
Yeah.
Am impressing you with my one-legged golfer headline.
Yeah.
It's
Mhm.
like, it just happened by, just trusting the process and following
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
It will happen. Mm.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. I already have, I feel like it's going to take me days to sort through all the stuff that we've just chatted about, which is phenomenal. And I'm hoping anyone that chooses to listen to this has, yeah, has the same reaction. I'm sure they will. But so I guess, and then to, I had a great list of a bunch of random questions, but we just totally went right into the deep
We
end.
went rogue, didn't we? We
Well,
just
no,
went.
I'm happy. Like, to be honest, the surfacey stuff is a formality or a
Mm.
necessity of life. So like,
Yeah.
if there's no need for it, then by all
Mm.
means, let's bypass it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm always happy to go the deeper route as well. I mean, one of the most profound interviews I had was with Ray Edwards on
Hmm.
a copywriting summit that he was doing, and he didn't blindside me, but I was kind of caught unawares because he wanted to talk about depression, my journey with that, and
Wow.
you know what?
Hmm.
I just didn't miss a beat, and I just answered his questions honestly
Hmm.
and candidly. I kept it raw and real, to use
Yeah.
all the catchwords. And you know what? I had so many people contact me after that saying thank you, because no one ever talks about the dark side. So many of
Yeah.
us struggle with our mental health. I shared that recently at the top of the Copywriting Club in Real
Hmm.
Life event in San Diego. Just shared a bit of my journey with depression, and people just went, holy shit, like, because everyone else is out there, it's all sunshine, lollipops and rainbows, and I'm a rainbow colored unicorn. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm a rainbow colored unicorn who just sometimes wakes up with, like the darkest cloud over my head or whatever. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to even
Wow. Hmm.
try to tell people otherwise. And the reason why I don't tell people otherwise is because, and by the way, I don't complain about it on Facebook. I'll be honest with people if they
Hmm.
ask.
Yeah.
Um, but the reason I share it is because I don't want people to think that there's something wrong with them,
Yeah. That's awesome. And
because
that
there's
is,
nothing wrong.
well,
Mm.
and that is the like authenticity, not authenticity. That's like, that's where a lot of the real power behind persuasion and copy comes from. Like, we're
Hmm.
not, people feel like that they need to create some sort of like incredible scenario. And it's just
Yeah.
like, no, like some days we wake up and like we still have to go to work. So we're not just like,
Hmm.
we're not like sitting like contemplating like but we're sipping our coffee and we're just like, I wish this, I still have to go
Hmm.
to work, but I
Yeah.
wish it could be differently. And everyone has that
Yeah.
experience, or it doesn't have to be yeah, it doesn't have to be the end of the world to resonate with people. If anything, you
Yeah.
connect with people in their daily life and that's going to resonate with them more. And I feel like
Mhm.
that's where we have the opportunity to really, yeah, empower people. Like you said, like you weren't like, I was on the top of a tower, like contemplating
Mm.
whether or not I was going to kill myself. You know, your story of the mundane where you
Mm.
experienced something resonated and empowered a lot of people. And now they
Yeah.
like, hopefully, well, they've definitely drawn hope, but hopefully they've also gotten some perspective to where they're like, this is okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be all right.
Yeah. That's it. Exactly. That's why, I mean, we've all got these powerful stories to share. I was just thinking as you're talking about that, you know, like imagine a Hollywood movie that is just like a highlights reel of someone's
Yeah.
Facebook post. It's
Hmm.
like no one would watch it. They'd get bored. They'd go, no,
Yeah.
let me guess. Oh, tomorrow they're gonna have a fantastic day again. Life and the way we experience life, and even the way it's reflected back at us through art and everything like that. It's
Mm,
like an ebb and flow, ebb and flow.
okay.
It's like
Hmm.
that's why I like to keep it raw and real. Yeah, I'm having a good day. I'm in quarantine at the moment. I'm doing the selfie thing, so that's funny. I haven't got any toilet door gaps to take photos of
That's
because
awesome.
hey, I live in a civilized world with no door gaps, so I
Yeah.
have to like keep things real in a different way. But you know, today I had a good day. Yesterday wasn't so good. The other day when I got home, my God, I was just so freaking angry about having been like forced
Yeah.
quarantine. It's like you're at the airport. It's like go home, do not pass go, do not go to the supermarket. If you do any of that, you will be fined $13,000. Blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's like I've been away for a month. Like I've got nothing at home. I'm gonna have to do the
There you go.
Corona what's left in my pantry diet. You know, and that's
Whoa. That
I've
sounds
got
like a
some
great
stuff
opportunity, actually. I'm just
to
saying, please
clean out my
elaborate.
pantry
No,
because
I'm
there's
saying our
stuff there
next
from years
clickbait.
ago.
Yeah, I'm saying number one on ClickBank right here. Here we go. Corona
Yeah,
cooking
yeah,
with a Corona kitchen.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, well, it's been truly an honor to be able to have this chat with you and here. And
thank you.
I've had a lot of things. Yeah, I've learned a lot. A lot of things that I kind of am learning and thinking have been affirmed. And I
Hmm.
also just appreciate the opportunity to kind of see the world from your eyes, and see, you know, what you're bringing into the work that you do that is obviously very good. And so
Thank
thank
you.
you for letting us have yeah, a bit of an inside look into the life of Pauline. And yeah, thanks for sharing some time with me and whoever that chooses to watch this.
Yeah, thank you. It's been a great chat. I love having chats like this.
Awesome. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and call it here for today, but hopefully there will be more conversations in the future. But I wish you all the best as you charge through the rest of your corona quarantinedness, whatever it is, and I hope you don't run out of toilet paper.
No, I've got it covered. It's
All
all
right.
good.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. We'll
All
talk
right. Thank you
soon.
so much.
All
Bye.
right. Bye bye.